Welcome to another episode of the Ohio College Tech Prep Podcast. My name is Matt Cola, and I am a representative out of the Northeast Ohio College Tech Prep region. This month's episode will focus on business advisory councils, specifically what I believe will become a best practice in business advisory councils, including student members. There is a business advisory council that is performing this practice and doing it so well. So today, I would like to welcome Ryan O'Donnell from Latonia School District out of the Columbiana County BAC. Thanks for being here today, Ryan.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to it.
So just to get started, our first question is, what's your name, what's your position, and what is your role within the BAC?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, my name is Ryan O'Donnell, and I work at the Columbiana County Educational Service Center over there in Lisbon, Ohio. And this is year number 6 for me. So my employer is the Columbiana County ESC, and I'm stationed at Latonia Schools full-time. And it's kind of a unique job over there. I actually have 2 different positions within the ESC. During the day, I am an administrative family school liaison. So I work with our entire campus and their families, grades kindergarten through 12. And my main job is to connect any families in need, any families in crisis, if any emergencies arise. I connect them to all the really great and wonderful resources that we have throughout Columbiana County, whether that be behavioral health, mental health, if families are in need of finding homes, employment opportunities. I'm the one that kind of intervenes and connects these families to all the really good resources. And then that's during the school day. After school, I am a site coordinator for a 21st Century Community Center Learning Grant, and it's called Innovative Career Exploration, also known as ICE. It's a program working with kids in grades 7 through 12, exploring a lot of careers, making them aware of what's out there, a lot of self-assessment tools. We do a lot of tests and exams to see what their interests are, and we do our best to tailor those student needs and get them connected to workforce opportunities out there in the county. We utilize a lot of guest speakers. We do a lot of field trips as well. We have some career curriculum that we do, financial literacy. And as I mentioned, the biggest thing about our after-school program is the career and exposure awareness that a lot of these kids have no idea what's available throughout Columbiana County. And it's really, really impressive that these kids have taken a huge step in their young age and want to learn more about the workforce. And that's my after job here at the school. And then with the BAC, I am on the executive council and I am the student representative coordinator. So I'll kind of give you a little background of how this all started with, the student representatives. About 2 years ago, I was asked by a couple of people who I work with at the local ESC to come and join the Business Advisory Council meetings and kind of just observe and see what they do. A lot of people listening probably understand that a local Business Advisory Council does their very best to cooperate local businesses, agencies, schools, government, partnerships, and we're all here for one big goal. And that is to help these kids prepare for their future upon high school. So I went to a couple meetings, and this was so random, but on my drive home, I kept saying to myself, we're always talking about students and what they need, and all the adults are saying they need this, they need that. And I look around the room, sometimes there's over 100 people there, and I don't see any kids. So it goes off in my mind, why are there no kids here? We need to know what they need from us. We don't always have the answers as adults and as professionals. These kids have such an empowering and loud, powerful voice. They know what they need, and sometimes we don't always give them that. So I went to the BAC chair, the BAC secretary, the superintendent at the ESC, and I told them all about my idea, saying that we should create a student panel to really make a difference in future meetings, get them connected to people in the workforce, and we find out from them, we need this. We didn't know they needed all that. So I was very fortunate that the BAC executive team loved my idea. And that's kind of when we got started with the process of recruiting students throughout the county.
Awesome. Thank you. So today we're speaking about the BAC's decision to appoint student members. What drove the BAC to make that decision?
I would say that our biggest decision was obviously finding the kids, making sure that they're interested in being a part of the BAC and really getting them to understand the mission. But our biggest decision moving forward was that we know how critical and how powerful student voice is to making change in the future.
How has having students on the BAC changed the way the BAC operates or makes its decisions?
I would say that it changes all of our perspectives, and not just the executive team. we're talking about members of the BAC in general. As I mentioned, sometimes we have over 100 people there, and this is local business owners, CEOs, local county commissioners, government, superintendents, principals, and we all kind of just took a step back and looked at what we as professionals can be doing better. It's kind of been a humbling experience to hear what the students need, because we always think that we know everything, we have the answers. So it's really moved us in a very positive direction moving forward.
That's awesome. I can't iterate enough times how exciting it is that y'all include students. I really think that more BACs should begin doing this.
I think that's going to be one of the ultimate goals. Is this is brand new. We just had them attend the first meeting in November, and they were just with us at that student panel in February. Mm-hmm. But big picture down the road, we obviously do have a goal. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to have these students go into the workforce, get a job, whether they go to college, whether they go to a trade school, whatever that may be, and we want them to become members of the actual Business Advisory Council when they're adults out in the workforce, and the essential goal is for them to help us recruit students as well.
What was the process by which you selected your student members, and how did you navigate recruiting students once you decided on that process?
The selection process began in an executive meeting, and we all tossed around a lot of different ideas, and it's best that we learn from each other. We have feedback, we have really open and honest discussions, and as a team, we had all finally agreed that the best way to move forward and start the recruiting process is to reach out to every high school guidance counselor in Columbiana County. So we reached out to all of them via email, phone calls, and we even went to go visit a couple schools because some of the guidance counselors were actually unaware of what the BAC really is. So that authentic sit-down conversations one-on-one was really, really helpful. But they were the ones who kind of spearheaded this. We reached out to them, and our mission was for each school in Columbiana County, we have 11 school districts, was to get one kid who's a junior, so 11th grade, to be on the BAC. We had agreed that each school could submit 3 applications, so 3 juniors from each single school district, and then those 3 kids would then interview with the BAC executive team, which we held the interviews at the Columbiana County ESC, which is over in Lisbon. Now, once those 3 kids from each school district were interviewed, we all had feedback and we made our decisions, and then that's when we got a hold of the guidance counselors and also included the principals, letting them know. We sent a formal letter signed by the superintendent of the ESC, letting them know, congratulations, you have been finally selected to participate in the Business Advisory Council as a student representative. We cannot wait to have you on board. And then that's when we moved forward, and we decided that at least once a month, if their schedule allows it, we bring the kids in and we talk about different goals and objectives that we'd like to achieve in the future. But it all started right there, with just authentic conversations with the school guidance counselors, and they ran with the idea. They were very excited about it, and they were the ones who were able to help us find these students.
That's excellent. I love seeing these partnerships between the councils and the districts. It really illustrates the need and the purpose of these BACs in action.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say pretty much the same thing, is that the BAC's mission is to create partnerships with schools and local businesses, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here.
Next question. Have there been any challenges when it comes to having student BAC members, and how did you navigate those challenges?
So far, since we're brand new, I wouldn't use the word challenges, but we have definitely faced some barriers. And one barrier that we have noticed is it can be extremely difficult to get all 11 student representatives together at one time, whether they're in extracurricular activities, whether they have quizzes, exams, state testing. Some of them don't have vehicles. So I would say one of the biggest barriers is getting everybody together all at one time. We have been able to work through that, though. A couple of representatives from the ESC, we have offered to give transportation services if a school doesn't have a bus driver that day or if they're low on subs. So we actually went to go pick up a couple kids at their school district and taken the BAC meetings. And the guidance counselors and career counselors and even one principal has taken a student to one of the meetings. So the buy-in from the schools and the ESC is really what's helping us tremendously. But as I mentioned, I would categorize it as a challenge, but it has been a barrier working through some of those communication strategies of how are we going to get this kid here on this date, and or do they have a test at this specific time? But we really communicate very well together.
It sounds like it. Based on our discussion so far, it sounds like there are many. What have been the biggest benefits to having student members of your BAC?
I would say that undoubtedly the biggest benefit that we have seen is community buy-in. When we introduced the student panel at the most recent meeting on February 6th at the Columbiana Arts Theater, there were maybe around 100 to 120 people in attendance from the community. And that ranged from people who were CEOs and business owners, from superintendents, principals, career counselors, people out in the community who provide mental health services, people who are looking for people to work for them. And I would say that directly is a huge benefit for them because they're seeing who their future employers might be. They're seeing what the needs of the community are, and these people can all come together as a big team and present opportunities for these kids to experience real-life, hands-on experiences.
Absolutely. I can speak from personal experience. I was at that event. It was so inspiring to hear those students' perspectives and just what big dreams and ideas they have for their own community.
And I really appreciate that. You know, we at the Columbiana County ESC, we would tell any business advisory council how beneficial it is to have direct student representation because their voices, as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, are so powerful. And some of the things that they say, we know that we need to make change in our community and we need to step up as professionals and adults and make school a much better and positive culture for them.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, what additional advice do you have for organizations who might want to implement this practice with their BACs?
I would highly recommend coming to any of the BAC meetings that we have. We meet 4 times a year. So my advice would be come to a meeting. Columbiana County ESC, we are trying to recruit as many people as we can to come join our Business Advisory Council. And it's all about networking. Network, network, network. There are so many kids out there, including kids on our student panel, they don't know what they want to do in their future. So I want these people in the business world, in the community, and the local government and schools to all come together, collaborate, brainstorm, come up with ideas to make these kids ready for their future. So my biggest piece of advice is you can learn so much from students themselves because a lot of times they don't get the opportunity to speak up. And you would be amazed when you give kids the opportunity to speak their mind.
As we close, is there anything else you'd like to add that I may not have asked about during the interview or any final thoughts you want to provide?
Like I said, anybody who's interested and willing to come to the Columbiana County Business Advisory Council to attend our meetings, feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're always looking to expand and grow and make the community a better place.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For everyone here out of the Northeast Ohio College Tech Prep region, I thank you for being here. And I'd like to thank all of our listeners. As usual, we really appreciate you all listening, and we appreciate our guests being on the podcast. If you have the time and you enjoyed the interview, please feel free to leave us a rating or a review on your podcast server of choice.
And I look forward to seeing you all next month on another episode of the podcast.